Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where you subscribe for all of the hottest and latest in-depth analysis and reviews in the crazy world of Supercross, motocross and enduro. My name is Larry van der Westhuizen, and after a fairly successful career in motocross myself, I transitioned into being a coach for several top riders around the world. Nowadays I spend my time in Austria, as you can imagine, working with several of the manufacturers, and I thought it was about time that I use my in-depth knowledge of the two-wheel industry to bring you some deeper insights into the world of crazy motorsports and two wheels. We're going to start with the 2021 Monster Energy Supercross series, and after a very competitive 2020, probably one of the most competitive seasons I've watched for a while, despite obviously the lockdowns and all the crazy things that happened in 2020. It was a very entertaining season to watch, especially the last few rounds altogether. It really tested the riders right to the brim of their ability and endurance and mentality, of course. But the 2021 season is promising to be even better. We have an injection of some really talented lights riders into the equation, and I think to race into the top 10 in 2021 is going to require some very good starts and consistency beyond all belief, which is going to be a tough ask for all these good riders and the guys we expect to be up there. In actual fact, I think to even get into the main event now, you're going to need to be a rider of some significance or have a very lucky last chance qualifier, because everyone, or in fact I can look at 25 names on the starting list that can very easily run up there and score points in the main event. But enough of that. Everybody knows what a competitive season is going to be for 2021, lots of rider shifts and everything, but we're going to focus rather on picking out riders and taking a little bit of a deep dive into their skills and abilities, where they lie and how they could possibly adjust themselves or use their strengths to come through at the end of this very competitive 2021 season. So rather than going through an analysis of all the riders in one go, there'll be way too much information. We're going to just bring you one rider at a time. Right, so we are going to start this deep dive with an analysis of probably once again the hot favorite for 2021, Kawasaki's Eli Tomac. And always been a personal favorite of mine, not my absolute favorite in terms of style and technique, but I just love his grit and determination. I already knew about his dad from downhilling days when I was racing downhill, so John Tomac was an idol of mine. But Eli Tomac has got to be the favorite once again for 2021. Finally got the job done in 2020, and he's going to be looking to do it again. So let's take a little bit of a look at Eli Tomac in depth, and this is where his strengths lie and where possibly some of the weaknesses are. And I suppose we have to start at the start. Eli Tomac, until he got his championship, wasn't renowned as a particularly great starter, and there are a couple of reasons for that, I believe. Although he seemed to get the job done better in 2020. And this is what he managed to do better, I believe, in 2020. He took a better look at each track, how he set up his bike for that track, whether it was going to work on the start, and then positioned himself accordingly. He had better start strategy, was my personal belief. But here's where things go a little bit wrong for Eli Tomac in the start. Let's start with the positive first before we go into what goes wrong, because generally he has a pretty good reaction time. Whenever there's a camera posted behind the start and you watch the movement of the wheel of Eli Tomac, he's pretty much launching with the best of the best. He has a very hard hit out of the gate. He knows how important it is to get his elbows in front of the riders next to him. So that hard hit out of the gate, if he gets it right, you're looking for a good start from Eli Tomac. So no fault there. Nice hard hit out of the gate. The next 2 meters is often where Eli Tomac gets it wrong. Balance. Now there's several riders that have this perfected, and Cooper Webb being one of them. but being able to get out of the gate with a big hard hit. Now you can imagine the torque involved in dropping the clutch on a very powerful 450 off the grid gate, and the stresses that come in there. So to keep the bike in a perfectly straight line is a very, very difficult thing. Now this is where we've seen Eli Tomac come unstuck a few times. Whenever he's got a nice straight launch out of the gate and kept it straight, he's pretty much going towards at least the top 5 through turn 1. But all too often, past the gate, you will see Eli Tomac start to do some major body corrections trying to keep the bike going in a straight line. And this is where he can lose out. It allows the riders next to him to get their elbows in front of him, the gap closes down, and then he's starting to be a little bit protective, knowing that, well, he doesn't want to go down in turn 1, he just wants to get through in whatever position he can and work from there. So it's something that Eli Tomac has to work on. So good reaction time he's got, a good launch he's got, but the balance over the next 5 meters is what he really, really has to work on. Now, if Eli Tomac is feeling confident, you're going to see him start more towards the inside. But all too often when he loses his balance, it ends up being a big disaster for him because he really gets closed and can't come through turn 1 and he comes out towards the back of the pack. But when he does get a good launch and stays nice and straight, you're going to look at Eli Tomac for the whole shot, if not inside the top 5. So if he's feeling confident, he's going to go for that inside. If he's not feeling too confident about the start, you're going to start to see him move towards the box in the middle. Now, when you look at all the starts of Eli Tomac over a season, generally his best results come from halfway between the inside and the box from the inside. So he's about a quarter way along the gate, and generally this is the best average for him because if he doesn't get a good launch, he somehow still manages to work his way through turn 1 with the fast guys and come out somewhere around the top 10. Or if he gets a good launch, he can command the first turn because he's really good and late on the brakes and can go through there nice and cleanly. So Eli Tomac is going to have to carry on thinking about those starts because without them this year in the level of competition, it's going to be much more difficult for him to come through that hard charge like he normally does. So if he can sort out this balance for the first 5 meters past the gate, then I think Eli Tomac is in with a good chance of many consistent results and possibly even another title. Right, with the start out of the way, let's actually move to the first corner where it's changed a little bit for Eli Tomac over the years. Now, obviously, Eli Tomac has had a little bit of a challenge from the people around him about consistency, which is why he just couldn't collect that Supercross championship until he finally got it done last year. So he was taking uncalculated risks at the wrong times. And the first turn is where he's toned things down slightly to make sure that no matter where he comes off the gate, he gets through turn 1 cleanly. He knows he has the pace to still end with a good result if he can just make it through the first turn without too much drama. Trust me, he doesn't like to get bad starts, but he's now mature enough and long enough down the road to be able to get through there wisely and work from whatever position he has through there. He is nice and late on the brakes, but quite often you'll find that Eli Tomac is not in a position where he can outbrake everyone. He kind of just funneling into turn 1 with who's ever around him. Right, moving on then to the next part, corner technique. Now, this is what makes Eli Tomac a force to be reckoned with in Supercross. The way he sets his bike up, and it seems like he has such a good team around him that understands what he wants, and they deliver it as often as they can. They have provided him with class-leading power in that KX450. It is an absolute beast. You can see it, and he has the strength and fitness to be able to hang on to that. There's almost no need to tame the power down for Eli Tomac. He's just saying, give it to me, I'll work a plan on how to control it. The suspension is what they work on a lot at every single Supercross round. Eli likes the turn, the front end of the bike to dive going into the turns. He's able to pivot around the front a lot better, and his technique really works in Supercross. Now you can find that obviously the perception is always if you're going to run around the top of the wall in a Supercross track on the berm and keep your momentum up, that's the fastest way, but it's very difficult to do that when you've got such fast riders coming up your inside all the time. So Eli Tomac has mastered the ability to go from somewhere in the middle of the track, even through to the inside, and still get through a corner as fast as someone would be railing the berm. And this is because he can get in, get the front end to dip, get the back end to pivot around him, and get out of there in such a hurry that it's actually even quicker than the guys who are railing the berm. Now, a little bit the secret to Supercross cornering, especially in a 180-degree turn, is the ability to take your momentum going forward, stop it, and just as quickly build that momentum up going the opposite direction. Now, sometimes it feels like going in and railing a berm, but remember, it's taking some time to transition that momentum from this way to that way. So Eli Tomac's method of going in, pivoting around the front and getting out is pretty effective from a defense point of view, and it's very, very quick. He has the strength as well to get over the front and do that, and very, very good throttle control to be able to let the back end turn him through the corner. Now, another advantage to that is you have to look at the angle of the berm. And when you are railing around the top of the berm, essentially you are powering along flat ground. Now, Eli Tomac, when he pivots around the front wheel, the back wheel ends up at the very top of the berm. Now, you know, in any position, that's why guys like to do it on the start. If you can raise the back wheel, when you accelerate, it really builds quick momentum and launches you way quicker. So there's a little bit of strategy there for Eli Tomac, is to get that back wheel nice and high in the turn. So when he accelerates out of there, it's dropping down the wall of the berm, and he builds momentum really, really quickly. Now, I know this seems logical. A lot of guys who square off the berms, that's what's there. But there's a really strategic or intentional strategy from Eli Tomac to do this. Now, this brings us to the next advantage Eli Tomac has over the rest of them, is whatever comes next, whether it be a triple out of a corner or a whoop section specifically, he's able to build so much more momentum quicker than anyone else, and which is why he carries so much speed through the whoops. He's able to pivot around that front wheel, drive out of the berm, and get going along through the whoop section, or has the momentum to clear a big jump straight out of the turn, because he has that technique. And of course that brutal power that his 450 Kawasaki puts out. And this I believe is what makes Eli Tomac so much faster than everyone else on a good day in Supercross, when he gets that right. When the track is set up to suit that particular style, when his bike is on point, and when he's feeling good, you're just not going to get around him, you're not going to pass him. In fact, he's going to get through you and disappear, because very few riders can corner and build momentum like he does so quickly. So that is his big strength. Moving on to jumps. Now, he has the strength to be able to attack jumps pretty much an entire race. And this is the difference we've seen between, and we can take an extreme example here, between a newcomer to Supercross and someone of the level of Eli Tomac. It's not just about executing the rhythms in the way that you're supposed to. Triple, double, triple. So many riders are trying to just execute the rhythm section like it's supposed to be. Triple, double, triple, or whatever the rhythm section is. And it's pretty difficult to get it just like that, never mind to attack it. Eli Tomac has the skill and the strength to be able to do that, and for the entire length of a final. Now, the advantage this gives him is that at any moment when he feels the need, so in other words, when he's caught a rider, to get himself on the inside to make a pass, he's able to just go up that little bit, half a notch, get alongside them, dive on the inside, and the pass is done. So Eli Tomac really, when things are going well, doesn't hang around behind riders for too long. Now, this also helps him when he's had a bit of a mid-pack start to get through riders fairly quickly and make his way up towards the front bunch. And once he tags onto that front bunch, he's able to just latch onto them and slowly make his way through. But passing is not a big problem for Eli Tomac compared to the other riders. Obviously, with the level of skill and speed that there is now in the 450 class, it's only going to get harder. But Eli Tomac has that extra gear, and it's all thanks to his ability to be able to charge rhythm sections as opposed to just doing them. Let's go on to mindset now, and this is a big thing. If you can imagine being as fast as Eli Tomac is, and having not won a championship up till last year, it was really starting to play on his mindset. Was he as good as he thought he was? Was he always going to put a foot wrong? And I suppose this is exactly where Adam Cianciarulo is at the moment. We know there's the speed, but it's that little can he put it all together thing. And no matter how fast you know you are, this little thing at the back of your mind is like riding with the brake half on. It really inhibits you from really being riding to your full potential. This is out of the way, so it has two effects now. It's either going to be, whew, I've got the job done, and there's a little bit of a step off the gas, and then they struggle to repeat it. Or this is what I do believe with Eli Tomac, at least for now. Obviously his age is now starting to become a factor, not quite yet, but getting there. But I believe that I know how to get it done now. The little thing that was holding me back, I figured it out, and if I just do the same thing again, I'm going to get it again. I have the speed, I have all the ingredients to make it happen, and we've already proved it. So I believe that this championship will be a confidence boost to him. Unlike a little bit like Jason Anderson, where it was hey, I got it done, and there was a little bit of a lift off the gas the next year, and he's going through the process of trying to refine that form. So with Eli Tomac, I think it's going to be a little bit different. It's the confidence he needed to go there. So maybe not quite at the level where Ricky Carmichael or James Stewart or Chad Reed or Jeremy McGrath was at the height or the peak of their careers, where they were literally getting onto the start line going, I've got this in the bag already. If not worst case, a podium. I'm not sure he's just there, but he does know that if all goes to plan, it's at least a podium, and with a decent start, it's going to be a win. And that's a big thing when you get into the start line, because there's obviously a lot of nerves and tension, and there still will be for him, but he knows when he's on there, it's just a case of getting through turn one cleanly, and there's a possible podium on the cards for him, if not a win. And if he just collects those podiums and the odd wins here or there, he knows he's on track. He can pull the hammer down when he needs to close out that championship later on. So I believe we're dealing with a far more confident Eli Tomac going into the 2021 season. So with a bike that's proven to be a formidable force out there, a mindset that is probably stronger than where it was last year, probably not as desperate to get the job done. So there was a little bit of holding back and conservative riding here or there last year. I think it's going to be all guns blazing this year again. He's probably going to be able to maintain it without too many silly mistakes. And obviously what we've seen with Eli Tomac is the mistakes don't come from the intense situation where there's a lot of riders around him, and that's where the other riders make mistakes, is where things get chaotic. With Eli Tomac is when things were too easy, when he was out front by miles. Now I believe those days are almost gone. There's just way too much competition in the 450 class for Eli Tomac to just be out front, gone, disappeared. So I think he's always going to be in the heat of the battle one way or another. He might have a second or so gap at the most on someone, so he's going to need to be concentrating and in the fight with the guys. And I think once he's in that situation, the silly mistakes aren't going to be really there. So yes, all going to come down to the start, because if he can't master that first 5 meters out of the gate, it's going to be a lot tougher this year for him to come through and get as many wins. That's what's going to be really important for him. And then also a little bit of a thing that could step in the way. Sometimes when, obviously Eli's bike, they really set it up for performance. There's no comfort involved in this. It's about how can I be faster. And sometimes it just seems, and I've never spoken to him personally to figure this out, but when the setup is on point for performance, he can pull out a qualifying lap of note. It's not necessarily the perfect bike for the length of a final. And if he doesn't get the best of start, gets a little bit tense in the first couple of laps, we've seen this happen a little bit, the forearms tighten up, he tightens up on the bike, and he just can't find the rhythm for the rest of the race. It's those races, it doesn't happen often, but where you just see Eli in 8th and you go, right, well, let's see the Eli we all know power through the field, and just does nothing with it and finishes in 8th. It's when he's ridden, the bike setup is maybe not 100% on point, he's riding a little bit tense because of a bad start or something that happened at the beginning of the race, and just can't find flow again after that. But at least the mature thing that he's able to do from then is just to go, okay, I'm not feeling it today. The worst thing I can do is to throw it away and injure myself, or make this, or compound this a bad result and make it even worse. He's going to collect the points and move on. He knows there's always another race. And I think that's a good, mature way to take on any championship. Right, that's it for this episode. I know it's been long and detailed and in-depth, but I think Eli Tomac is still the hot favorite for 2021 in the Monster Energy Supercross Championship. And, well, we'll see how it goes. We'll take a look at all the points I mentioned, see if you can pick them up for yourself, maybe even apply it to your own riding. Remember, if you would like some advice on your riding, feel free to email me at mxlaren, that's mxlaren @gmail.com. Send me through your info, send me through your videos, and we can get chatting about how we can get things together for you in the future in your riding career. Anyway, keep well. Catch you in the next episode. We're going to be talking about Cooper Webb.